Welcome, everybody. My name is Lizolem. Welcome back to In Black and White. This is our third episode. We would like to welcome Irvan Damon to this third episode where we'll be covering AI, mostly with the local flavor, with the Mzansi flavor.
Yeah, lekker. So, Irv, I mean, obviously, you and I have known each other for quite a while. And I think when I met you, gosh, we were now easily 15 years ago. Um, you've always been ahead of the curve. Back then, I think you were very deep into the green revolution before most people were even contemplating, the climate change question and what we can do to basically save the planet or at least stave it off for a little while longer. And I know you've been involved in a number of different things. But look, man, just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you've landed in the world of AI.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Lizzo. Yeah, to be a part of this podcast is an absolute blessing. Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to share part of my world and part of my privilege. Jay is quite correct. I wrote the first thesis about 20 years ago. I spent an ordinary, like a very long time at UCT, about 10 years, a decade. And so I wrote the first thesis relating to environmental policy making in the South African context about 20 years ago. That's always kind of been a theme of mine. After that, I had a TV show called Hybrid Living that just launched the Toyota Prius. And so Toyota was the title sponsor. And then I've written for, a lot of content. Was one of the primary Mail and Guardian Greening the Future Awards adjudicators. So I love the content. And then fast forward, I've always been involved in the smart IoT sector, 2.0, 4IR, and all of that. And over the last 4 years or so, I've kind of silently pivoted into the AI space. And so, yeah, AI for me, and if you ask me what I do, usually when people ask other people, what do you do for a living? They would give someone a title, right? So you're an actuary or you're a podcaster or a mathematician, a teacher, or a nurse. I always like to say that I bring value to your life. That's what I do. I really don't have a title. Kind of facetiously say, I will make your digital dreams come true. So I don't really have a definitive answer as to what I do, but I know what it feels like. And I also know the why. For me, it's very important to have a why when you wake up in the morning, whether it's a routine or whether it's your mantra or whatever you do. And specifically, AI is quite interesting because a lot of people would YouTube themselves to gain an understanding and education, right? Or, they have these beautiful LinkedIn multimedia infographics about agentic AI. Then it's the shiny stuff. The shiny stuff is kind of a loose term for the stuff that, the talking babies, diaper diplomacy, all that other video stuff is quite cute. But if you just pause for a second, by the time you try and understand how that shiny AI thing works, that trend is dead. Because companies, what they are actually doing is showing you all the shiny stuff, right? But they're monetizing your metadata, and you don't realize that. And so for me, I've never really been affected by like trends and fads and VO3 and all of that, because what purpose would it serve me? And so my message to people out there is, what is your purpose with AI? And when you know the purpose and the why, everything else is peripheral. You take something, tiny bit of that shiny AI download or that AI app, and you bring that and it complements your learning about AI. So yeah, so I've been deep diving into AI for quite a while, for the last 4 years or so. And here we are, and this is such a great honor.
Lovely, Irv. So, look, to get down into the nuts and bolts of, AI and the way you're doing it, I would say from the discussions we've had, in a sense, you're almost localizing AI. A lot of people talk about AI. They think they know what they're talking about. They think AI might start and end with things like Chat GPT. But from the discussions we've had, you're doing something a little bit differently when it comes to the South African context. And so just give the listeners a sense of how you're doing AI differently in terms of some of the projects you're working on or have already delivered.
Yeah. So when you talk about context, I mean, if you most of the policy statements from the G20 AI task team spoke about context, local context. We need to get the NVIDIA chips. We need to set up the data center. We need to let AI speak in our vernacular, address our issues. What are we solving? Is it fintech? Cool. Get the AI tools to make fintech more accessible. So the leitmotif, the theme from the minister to the deputy minister for digital technology has been about that. And to come to your question, Jay, I just wanted to give some context. So when people talk about AI needs to speak in our language, if you ask someone what that really means, they probably just heard that from someone else. But if you ask them, have you built something? Have you perhaps coded a little bit? Do you understand what it means to express something in our vernacular, whether it be education, finance, economics? So, practically speaking, we have 11 official languages, right? And so with Haibo Panda, which is my NPO, so Haibo Panda is a free online platform, and we specialize in educating the youth and SMMEs with regards to AI. So it's kind of, the essentials, then the beginning, the beginners, some more advanced stuff, and there's a lot of use case studies. We have tried to address something contextual to the South African environment. That's not so shiny, but it has purpose. And talking about something quite real in terms of what Gerald just asked me is I did a tiny bit of linguistics at UCT, so words, languages. I write as well. I blog for RMB. So writing is I like expressing and imagining things around AI. So writing just fits right in there. It's part of my rhythm, how I express myself and how I try and gather perception as to what we could solve with AI given our contextual problems. So getting down to some very basics, I've created something called Voice Lab. Voice Lab, well, I would hope to think so, is the first African language phoneme. A phoneme is the smallest part of the world that could change its meaning. For instance, if you say, so the NPO was called Haibo Panda, right? Now, if you drop that into a typical text-to-speech engine, Lizelle, this is a test to you. If you dropped Haibo Panda into Google Translate, what will it say? Just take a
Uh,
guess.
it will look, I think Google will obviously try and mix it up a bit. And by me saying that, when you say Aibo, it's a local South African term.
Haibo food,
It
yeah.
could be
Definitely, it will. It will.
Visto
It will get Haibo.
or I'm surprised.
Yeah, Haibo will be pronounced correctly because there aren't any difficult consonants or vowels with that, right? But how will
Yes.
it pronounce
But maybe
panda?
Panda, it will say maybe Fanda, something like that.
Excellent, excellent. That is exactly the point I'm getting at. And the thing is, it's not that Google Translate or other text-to-speech engines cannot fix it. It's a commercial decision. It is a deliberate oversight. And by that I mean is that if you have like 40 million people speaking Hindi, for instance, versus 1% of the people speaking Xhosa. What,
Yeah.
as a commercial decision, are you going to rather spend resources and time in terms of translating Hindi into English, or you're going to do Xhosa? Obviously, you're going to do, you're going to go where the bag is. So I've applied myself to this. So one of my other services I offer clients is to create deep fakes, good deep fakes, funny deep fakes, deep fakes with some sort of presentation, commercial presentation aspect to it. And like 3 years ago, I realized that when you try and make the avatar or the person, if I clone your voice, right, and I wanted to speak Tsonga or Xhosa, I had to then phonetically hack the text to speech engine in order for it to say panda and not funda. So I have to remove the H, right? So now that looks like panda. But the AI doesn't know that it's supposed to be a silent H because it's not trained in that. Obviously, it's not trained in that. And so I used to linguistically reverse hack the text that I drop into the text to speech engine so that panda would be pronounced panda. And that's when I thought, like, why do we have to do that? I mean, why do I have to reverse engineer something so that it can sound the way we hear it? And that, as I said, it is not that Google cannot do it. There's just no commercial imperative. Think about it. It absolutely makes sense. So I'm quite excited to say that I have collected about 33 phonemes. If you go to hybridpanda.org.za. So my approach is open source. I'm using an actual Xhosa speaking person. And it'll take 9.5, 10,000 hours to do the whole Xhosa dictionary. The ones that have non-clicks and the ones that do have clicks. But that's where you start. Because a lot of other people use SDKs. I know the CSIR are doing amazing work, but you literally have to get a Zulu speaking person. You literally have to get a Xhosa speaking person. And can you imagine Google investing money with this resource? They just wouldn't see the sensibilities of it. And I agree with them. But it's got a passion of mine. And if you go to hybridpanda.org.za and click on Voice Lab, have a look at that. Email me. Let me know what your thoughts are. The use case for something like this is both in finance, education, call centers, where we can now contracts, onboarding, insurance, where we will be able to express yourself in your vernacular. And so that's what I'm building, is an open source API based language engine, which it's crazy that no one's really thought of doing it this way. But I think it was greatly inspired by the fact that after if you look at almost all the speeches, whether they were in Cape Town or whether they were in Joburg, almost all of them mentioned we have to express ourselves in our language and our vernacular. I'm like, do you know what you're talking about? Do you actually know what you're talking about? Build it. You know what I mean? And then they get distracted, and now, Cassava Tech wants to build this 12,000 NVIDIA chip center in Cape Town. That's great. So that is going to be what they call not a data center, but rather an AI data factory. So it's not just a big block of, processing or training language models. You create opportunities right there in this thing called the factory, the AI factory. So that's kind of what they are terming this. That's what we need, is to train people on local solutions, respond to local context. And I'm quite excited about that, to be able to support a data factory and AI factory to respond to local solutions and local context.
Awesome, Earth.
Thanks
So
for
look,
that, Irvan.
I think what we wanna do, and we'll definitely post it as we launch the episode. I really want to encourage people to go and visit hybridpanda.org.za. I've been there. I've even done a
That's good.
certification. I've done a certification on customer service, and it's really cool because you actually get a little
That's right.
certificate at the
We
end
did
of it.
that.
Yeah, and
We did that. Yes.
there's loads of free content, and I would encourage anybody that's curious about AI or starting out, or maybe just seeing for themselves and not listening to all the hype. Maybe it's a case of you're too intimidated. Hybrid Panda and the way the materials presented is really, I think it's comfortable, friendly, and accessible to everybody. But if we are going to put all of your credentials and your links on the episode in the comments, etc., when we post, yeah, I encourage everybody to go and have a look.
Thank you.
Let's
And
over
I
to
encourage
you.
people.
Yeah,
No, go for
thanks.
it. Sorry, go for it.
Thanks, G.
Oh
Thanks,
no, thank
Evan.
you. Thank
Look,
you so much, Jeff.
yeah. So look, I went through, and I like the way you've explained your previous point, because it sort of like leads into the next one, and obviously we want to talk adoption of AI in terms of in the South African landscape. What are the hurdles? What are the challenges? Where are the opportunities? I would imagine that with the type of work that you are doing, there's a whole lot of machine learning that needs to happen. People going in to translate data annotations and all the works. So where are the opportunities, and how does a man on the street, how does Ibo Panda sort of like address the fears on the men on the street in terms of their fear of AI that is here to take our jobs? I mean, as a Xhosa speaking person, if you are telling me that AI
Mm,
is now going to speak
mm.
Xhosa, maybe I'll be worried in terms of, so what's going to be my need when AI can speak Xhosa, and maybe a million of other people from my home province, which is Eastern Cape. So yeah, if you can just take us through that. Even in terms of what are the hurdles, where are the opportunities, and how do we get the people on the street, to not look at AI as something that's there to replace them on their jobs.
Thank you so much for that. I think let's do something very practical. If you go into hybridpanda.org.za and you have something that you would like to learn to enhance your AI learning, don't talk to me about an app or talking about this. Communicate what you'd like to learn about learning about AI. You're still the same person. Maybe you're into logistics. Maybe you're in a BPO. Maybe you're a nurse, a doctor, an athlete, a cage fighter. All right. So this is you right now. This is your job. You just have the tools to make you the best nurse, the best doctor, the best cage fighter, the best teacher. And that's how you approaches. We will always need the human in the loop. I always use this analogy. I am Jay will know that I love cooking. I've had a digital broadcast channel called DigiChef. A chef, for instance, the chef, I kind of cannot yet, at least, get a sense of the aroma of a meal or see when something is supposed to turn from, say, translucent to golden. AI can't do that. And this is where the human in the loop is important. That intuition. Humans have intuition. We have a sense. We feel pain. We feel sadness. We get affected by a poem. So the human in the loop will always be over there. And so people mustn't worry about that. I will encourage people to not stop learning to learn. By that I mean is go find the tool that enhances and makes you the best rock star, the best cleaner. Okay. This is how I can be more effective. This is how I can scale. And often people talk about these words like, we need to scale and efficiency, all those buzzwords. I'm like, okay, I mean, that's obviously an outcome, but who are you? And once you know who you are and why you do it, then you just go find the appropriate tool. And I want to encourage our listeners, our viewers, if you have anything that you think could be so beautiful, and use your imagination, because most of us use AI in a very transactional basis. Like, do the email, find the best this, give me the top 5 tone, use this tone, don't sound like a robot. Those are transactional prompts, you know what I mean? And we need to begin to imagine around AI. Like, read the Sunday Times to me like you are a Roman executioner in the 14th century. You know what I'm trying to say? You got to do that stuff. You know what I mean? So I think we need to, and to me, it's called metacognition, is where you think about what you've created. You don't just like pop it into this beautiful machine and it pops out like, oh, email summarized, tone is professional, or tone is humorous or sarcastic or whatever. I mean, that's okay, but it's so transactional. You are literally not harnessing the power of using its imagination and your imagination to do something beautiful, contextual, and different. There's a lot of competition out there. And my advice is not to use AI in such a linear, transactional fashion. Use your imagination. And then you're asking about some of the bottlenecks. True story, right? Now, Hybopanda is an NPO, and so I went onto the what's a government database called again? The where you can get tenders and contracts. The central database. The central
CST.
database. Yeah, it's called the central. It's called the central. Yeah. That's right. Talk about obstacles, right? I'm gonna tell you something. Sorry, the central supply database. Yeah, CSD. Central supply database. Yeah.
Is
And
that
you talk about
the central tenderpreneur database?
Anyway, so when you go into the CSD, right? So I went in the CSD. I think it was just after Malatsi made his speech about how AI needs to be, in our vernacular, our needs, our pain points. I said, okay, that's really cool. It gives a lot of context and hope and excitement. If you go into the CSD, now this is real. This is not a heuristic. What are the challenges? We're all sitting on a panel talking about AI as if it were climate change. We're talking about a real bottleneck over here, the zone. If you go to the CSD, try and find AI training, try and find AI technical assistance. Do you know what you have to do? You have to call it, which I had to do, adult higher education. What?
Mm.
So where is government and ourselves have to work together, as a think tank, triple P stuff, and say, guys, so we want to harness this $1 trillion opportunity on the continent, but there isn't even a category for me to start doing work with you.
Mm. Mm.
That's real. It is like that today on the, what's the day today? And so I was speaking with this other colleague of mine because we know we're busy working on something quite exciting. I said to him, you know what, guy? Let me tell you how problematic the situation is. Everyone's talking about the AI and the jobs and new industry. And I was like, okay, so go into the central supply database and you go find AI design services or AI in education or finance. You're not going to find it. And so he said, you need to speak to the minister about that because I think the minister would like that. Minister, well, Deputy Minister Mondlane would say, oh my word, no, you're right. We didn't see this. And that's how practical things are. I think we're in the digital bush over here in this country. You know what I mean? I mean, how are you spearheading policy when there's dissonance on the central supply database? Yeah. How are you making the new jobs category? Where do I get paid? How do I get paid? I'm in higher adult education. I'm in IT. AI is not IT. It is own category completely. You get AI and then you're dropping down to all the subcategories. That's what I'm talking about. And we ask me what some of the bottlenecks are. Those are one of the bottlenecks for me. If government is spearheading this, and I don't think they can do it alone, we do need a think tank. We should be part of that think tank. This is one of the tools of the think tank. Then it's government, experts, scientists, policymakers, activists. But there's no talk about the think tank. I wrote an article about 2 months ago about where is our think tank? What are we doing? Where's this thing? Oh, there's some strategic initiative, some green paper that's been put out, which my friend told me about. I said, okay, cool. Wow, it's amazing. Green papers or policy statements. But I think the private sector, together with NGOs and government, we want to harness this thing, and we're going to miss the opportunity. We are living in the digital bush. China, as of September last year, made it compulsory for every sixth grader to learn AI. Where are we going to be in 5 years' time? Guys, I mean, we are joking over here. Joking. And it was interesting. I was telling Jay, I went to the G20 AI village. This village, it was an AI village gathering as well, well attended. It was difficult to get in and boom, boom, boom. I thought I was at a climate change conference. You know when people used to talk about climate change 10 years ago, it's this thing, the polar bears and the ice. I was like, who are these people? What is this? What are you talking about? Where are the people that have coded, built, failed, iterated? Those are the rock stars. Are people talking about stuff I don't know, they might as well be talking about cassava and pro neutro inside there. It was actually guys, come on, man. And I promise you, the theme was so obvious. Africa must express itself in its vernacular and local context. I'm like, hey, I don't even know, you don't even know what you're talking about. And now we do stuff. I mean, last year I built a lot of stuff, and the year before. 2026 to me is, the tech is one thing. The app is one thing. The coding is one thing. GitHub, whatever you have, is one thing. I believe the most important thing is execution. Here we have this thing. You know what I mean? This beautiful product over here. Oh my God, no one's seen this. Oh my word, they're so amazing. AI scale, and this thing is real time, database, Firestore, whatever the case may be. Execution is still important. You have to partner with the right people. That's why AI will never replace humans. We need the right mindset, the right instinct in order to ensure that that beautiful thing that you have created in AI has context and purpose. Execution is very important. And that is my parting message. Yeah, he's talking so much about have you built anything? Have you failed? And why don't we have a bit of we take a sector, maybe we do something on, SMMEs or youth, And perhaps we just do like a quick little 10-minute kind of blitz. This is what the product does. This is how you can do it. These are the tools you need. And maybe people say, okay, great, I need 90% of this stuff. Maybe we do that once every 3 weeks or whatever, where we show people stuff. And then people can also ask your show for us to build a tiny little MVP. You know what I mean? If someone has a challenge and it will be purposeful, maybe that is our contribution. We build something for people and imagine something for them. Maybe we build something small for them. Maybe we do that once every 2 weeks. I mean, to me, that would be, because often the stuff can be very LinkedIn based. And you go into LinkedIn, you see all the agentic troughs and the agentic this, and I look at the stuff and I'm like, have you actually tried building an agent?
Mm.
Not only building it, you've got to show as to why you're doing it. Then we pilot MVP. Then the golden little phrase, return on investment. Right, let's go. That stuff, you've got to sit with the stuff. It's not it's a silver bullet to many things, but it's still business. You still got to you still got to get the divvies. You still got to make the shareholders happy, right? Just because it's AI, it's not immune to how people measure profitability. So that's what we've got to get our heads around. And now Jay and I were talking about something. I just asked him straight up. So how are we making money on this, and how are we making the person money, or how? That's a question to ask. The in between blurry AI tool stuff like that, we can tweak that and we can learn about that and we can iterate. But yeah, you need to ask the hard questions. AI is not immune to being measured on ROI, and that is the conversation we've got to have in 2026. Not like policy stuff. Okay, policy is important. Sorry, ministers. Policy is important, but AI has to be measured against those same benchmarks like traditional business. It's far more scalable and moves much quickly. Maybe the business cycle for a typical AI project versus something in, I don't know, offshore wind turbines. Maybe that business cycle is quite long, but AI, it has shorter business cycles, but it is not immune to showing profit. And I think people don't like that word. At that AI conference, there was not one, I don't think it was one speaker or anyone on the panel that spoke about that. ROI. And let's not even speak about it. I want you to arrive at that G20 AI Village talk and show me. Show it to me. Most people talk about time, and so ROI could be soft and hard. So it makes you more efficient in terms of minutes saved, which they like to do and say that translates into dollars saved. Okay, I mean, I can kind of buy that. I can buy that where ROI is not. It's almost kind of like not completely intangible, but like, okay, it's more efficient, it's more scalable. So we save 10.5 hours this week. That 1,800 rand an hour. Oh God, oh, amazing. We got to think about those metrics, and the harder and more seriously we talk about those ROI metrics, the more we'll get to the stuff, man. So the shiny stuff is good, but shiny stuff is like, the talking babies, dancing babies, diaper diplomacy. That's not ROI stuff. That just shows us how powerful AI is, which I love. But you can use some of those tools to create audio visual elements that can showcase ROI.
There's a lot that needs to happen in the space of AI. And I think the first thing is South Africa, as usual, and this is the opinion of Gerald, is behind the curve again. We are setting up these wonderful G20 Global Village summits for the sake of being seen to do something and for the sake of being able to spend budget amongst friends and family for the catering and the venue. But when you get to these summits, you typically don't have an outcome. You're still doing a lot of PowerPoint talk. I think what Taibo Panda will address, and if people will take the time and over time, the first step is to understand a bit more about AI, that it's not just Chat GPT or using Chat GPT to write fake news articles about whatever Maduro or whoever, as we see now, Facebook being full of. I think there is a level of adoption of AI. Just open your Facebook page and any topic you'll see self-styled reporters and bloggers will fill your feed with any topic. And I think that's not the intention of AI. I think your platform, and to tie it back to Lizole's sort of perspective from a closer speaking person who's perhaps concerned about AI, it's to start and look at AI and, can AI help me be the best street sweeper? Can AI help me be the best surgeon? Can it help me be the best barber? And using it to make you a better, sharper razor. And I think that's really where we need to start. Talk shops are great and they need to happen, but for the man in the street, and I include myself in that, because by no means am I an AI expert. I'm a consumer of fine. So you know what they say, right? If you're not the smartest person in the room, make sure you've got the smartest person working for you. There we go. So I think we'll definitely have to get you back on. I think this is a massive topic, and I like your idea of breaking things down and showing people practical examples, because my experience with podcasts and AI, there doesn't seem to be a podcast out there for beginners or gently putting you into the world of AI. It's all already at light speed. It's moved beyond that, and trying to learn something about AI as a Luddite on a podcast nowadays, in terms of what's available, is an impossible thing to do. So definitely, we're going to get you back on.
Thank you. I
And I
appreciate
think
that.
if you can take us or start thinking of where we're going to start, or how we start the journey with the audience, I think it's important that we start with those building blocks. But Irv, thank you for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. This is amazing. This is like LinkedIn, but for real people. The AI part. You know what I mean? This is essentially what LinkedIn is supposed to do, but you just see a lot of shiny stuff. There's moving infographics, and you're like, oh my, where do I start? Like, what is going on here? And am I behind? You feel insecure when you see that stuff. You're like, oh my God, there's just so much I can't. You know what I mean? This, to me, what you guys have created, and congratulations. I think definitely on the regular, maybe we take a sector, we go into health, we go into finance, we go into fitness, we go into nutrition, maybe deep dive in those verticals, call it at home, at work, at play, or whatever. And perhaps just tease out, what's trending, which tools could be used, and then showcase an actual use for that particular sector. Oh, and before I go, and take off my catches, I can hear, because I've saved her. Lizelle, so do you speak Xhosa?
Yes, I'm from the Eastern Cape.
Oh, you are? Oh, brilliant. Now, why don't we show our viewers and then just say capella for me? Is it capella or capella? Capella. Okay, let's not be smart of you. No one likes a smart ass, Lizzo. So I was wondering, perhaps you could contribute some phenomes, some parts of a word to Voice Lab. And why don't we return and we show them what we've done since this conversation? And if you go into Voice Lab, you'll see how it works. I just coded the feedback from an amazing Xhosa speaking woman who contributed about 33 phenomes. So it's either part of a word or the whole word, right? So a phenome would be like part of the 15 consonants, like the C's, the Q's, and the GX's and all of that. You know that it makes me nervous when I see that. Go have a look at it. But Jay, as a parting final note, I must go. Why don't between now and then, why don't we get Lizelle to contribute some phenomes on Hyper Panda, and maybe we just pop up into the screen, share that, and we share that with our beautiful podcast community. We share that with them, and show them what we've done. That could be quite interesting. Lizelle?
Yeah, looking forward to that. I'll be happy to participate on that.
Oh, thank you. That's
Noted.
most gracious. Thank you, Jay.
Cool. Irv, it's been a pleasure.
I love your work. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry it was slightly late. Go well, Jay. Go well, Lizzo.
Thanks, Irv. Take care.
Thank you,
Take care of
guys.
your cat.
Okay.
Ciao.
Okay, bye.
Bye.